All right, guys. So I hope that you guys got some wonderful writing from the two free writes that we just did. So we're gonna be going into our next step of the spoken word workshop, which is going to be our writing portion. But before we do that, I thought it would do you guys justice to see an example of what a spoken word poem sounds like, looks like, feels like, so then you guys know what direction to go into. So I'm gonna be performing one of my own poems. In this poem, I want you guys to be paying attention to the way that I say things. So my diction, my cadence, my delivery, my tone, and the way that I emphasize certain phrases, and my overall deliverance. And I also want you guys to pay attention, of course, to the context of the poem and what's being spoken about and how it's being spoken about, which would be the deliverance. So, yep, let's get into it. This poem is called Pinocchio's Child. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? I'll go first. I look at the time and think, here we go again while playing pretend that I'm awake. Actually, I wish I didn't go first. Instead, I wish my mouth stayed closed and eyes shut to stop my heart from indicating there's a pulse. And I wish this world saw the pain as a problem worth fixing. They say that's just kids nowadays, but I say no, that's us internally signaling to deaf ears who claim to be listening, 'cause I've been told I'm not alone, but what I'm left with speaks volumes. So, as a child, how could I possibly comprehend words as soft as I love you when what was communicated didn't match those vibrations, instead shaking the ground beneath me and breaking me into pieces? And though I never showed it, I was focused on building a broken foundation on distant childhood memories. Stacking the bad first to stand on the good that I thought would raise me higher than my parents ever did. So go ahead, ask me why I feel alone, and I could give you way more than 13 reasons. I attend a high school with kids whose morals are non-existent, and I'm in disbelief this is the upcoming generation. And on top of that, we deal with teachers who teach us with their paychecks and not their passion, yet it's expected we're attentive to every problem they present. So when you ask me, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? I tell you, I wish I did it. Because why would I want to wake up in a world where my presence is treated like an inconvenience rather than a gift? Yes, I might be alive, but what is that worth if I'm dying to keep living? I'm not up late nights perusing scriptures from countless religions for no reason. I'm in seek of salvation. And if you'd ask questions about my studying, your assumptions about it wouldn't be necessary. I'd be more than happy to give you my opinion on why so many students feel this way. You see, this poem isn't about me. It was never about me. It's for those kids who struggle to tame their voice in society's tangled ropes. So I pray my words will weigh your heart light, and you will wake with gratitude for a new day. You see, there's a God this world talks about, and he's a savior. But you gotta be willing to save yourself too. And that's the poem. So, just looking back at the poem, so there was the, coming from the distant childhood memories, and then going to the big jump of talking about the teachers, and then full circling the poem to how the poem was never even about me and about my life and about my own experiences, but it was about kids that I see around me, kids that are in my community that are struggling day to day, end to end with their life because of what society is putting them through, because of the societal standards that women and young men are held to every single day, and they have no voice. So looking at an example such as the tangled ropes, their voice is tangled in the ropes of society. Their voice isn't actually tangled in any ropes, because their voice cannot possibly get tangled in ropes. Like, that's actually impossible. So that's an example of a metaphor. And it painted a picture to you, which is the point of using the metaphor, that they're struggling and that they don't have a voice. So the purpose of the poem was to be that voice, which is what you can do. So I want to ask you, how do you think you can bring awareness to certain issues that are going on in your community? How can you be that voice? And I want you to think about that as you write about this poem and you continue to emphasize and you continue to elaborate furthermore on this topic that you chose about, using the choice of topic that I gave to you, whether it was empathy, anti-bullying, anti-hate, or self-love. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into this writing workshop. So beginning a poem is probably one of the most hardest things. So I got these 5 starter tips from the Poet Laureate of Orlando, Sean Welcome, who's actually an executive member of Exodus United. And these are the tips. So I thought these were pretty good tips myself. And this is just the first line. So you can start with a story, like a storyline. You can start with a joke. You can start with humor, a question, as I did. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? I'll go first. And then going into that whole thing. You can start with a fact. So an example that he used when he was talking about this was, you can last longer without food. Humans can last longer without food than they can with water. And he was writing a poem about water, H2O. So you can start with that. And you can also start with a quote. So if you're struggling with starting this poem, you can use any one of these. So a joke, a story, the beginning of the story, a question, a fact, or a quote. So you have these 5 things. So the poem, the basis of the poem is going to be what you previously wrote about. So like you saw with my poem, there was a lot of feeling, there was a lot of emotion, there was a lot of ups and downs, there was a lot of escalation and de-escalation, and that was to take the listener on a story. You want your poem to feel like a journey. You want these people that are listening to feel immersed in the world that is your poem. You have full control. So I want to encourage you guys as you write this, that it doesn't need to rhyme. It doesn't need to sound all poetic and beautiful, because at the end of the day, if you can speak, if you have a voice, then you have the potential to become a poet, because that's all it takes. And all it takes is just putting that pen to the paper and getting to writing. So you have already accomplished the first step, which is the brainstorming. So as you guys go into this writing portion, I want you guys to think about, how can you show what you're trying to portray instead of telling it? Because although this is a story, although this is a journey that you're taking your listener through, you want them to feel it. You want them to imagine it, So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go into our writing portion as well. And I wanted to also speak on just a few figurative language, like rhetorical devices. And if you guys don't know what figurative language is, it's basically tools that you can use to make your writing sound beautiful and make it feel wonderful. That's the best way I could explain figurative language to you. It's very common use in fiction writing, even in nonfiction writing, but mostly in fiction writing, in poems, in music. You'll find it a lot in music, and you'll find it a lot in poetry. An example would be a simile, which is comparing 2 things using like or as. So very simple one: brave as a lion, or smart like Einstein. So you're comparing yourself and your bravery to a lion, which is the king of the jungle, and then you're comparing your intelligence to Einstein, which is known to be like one of the smartest guys in history. So brave as a lion, smart like Einstein. So you're getting your point across, but in a way where these people are connecting things that have no correlation with a human being. Like, what does a lion have to do with a human being's bravery? But anyway, you guys can go ahead and start with your writing. We're gonna go ahead and take 5 minutes now, and just come back after that 5 minutes. You know, no pressure. You guys are amazing. You guys are doing wonderful. Be yourself and allow yourself to flow. So the 5 minutes is just gonna start now. Alright, y'all, so our timer is officially done. Excuse me. So, I know you guys are doing wonderful, and I just wanted to congratulate you guys because you have made it so far into this writing process, and it takes great courage to get deep into your emotions and to express yourself and to get deep into your mind. And I just want to say that I'm proud of you. Even though I don't know you, us being here on this one-on-one is creating a community. And, you know, maybe one day I'll hear your poems, no matter where you are in the world. But another thing that I wanted to say before we carry on from this writing portion is, when you're writing, allow yourself to have that same freedom as you do with free write. Even if you do have a structure, even if you do have a certain way that you want this poem to turn out, allow yourself to create, because the point of writing isn't to, you know, have some beautiful polished poem like the one that I performed to you. The point is to get your point across in the way that relieves you, in the way that lifts stress off of you, in the way that brings change, in the way that does whatever you're trying to accomplish. It doesn't have to be any certain type of way. Allow yourself to flow, allow yourself to express, and furthermore, allow yourself to have fun in your poetry, allow yourself to explore the world that is your mind, within your words, within your poems, and leave the critique and leave the judgment for the revision process, which will be the next process, actually. But before we get into that, I just wanted to leave you guys and make you guys just remember this last thing: to show and not tell with your words. It's so important that you dig deep in the layers of your mind and allow yourself to be a writer, allow yourself to be a creator, allow yourself to be an illustrator of the story that you want to be told through your words. Don't be afraid of how it may sound. Allow yourself to flow and use your 5 senses. Use the 5 senses that you have: your taste, your smell, your sight, your hearing, and your touch. Use all of those things. And personally, I am somebody that believes in a higher power, and I believe that we, just like Sean believes, we are divine beings and we inherently have this gift to create. So don't block yourself of that gift just because, you know, you're frustrated about something. Keep on going. The writing process is to be fun and liberating, and I encourage you to continue writing and to even encourage your friends to write as well. So as you guys continue into this workshop, I want you guys to also keep in mind that a poem is only considered to be finished when you say it's done. Don't be your biggest judge. Allow yourself to have fun and be friends with your poetry, guys. Enjoy the next process of the revision, and I know you guys are gonna come out with a phenomenal poem.